Some things you can do to reduce your fire vulnerability. When you live where people are lighting fires all the time, you learn a few of these tricks. And one trick that I know people will use, they'll take a bush hog, rotary mower, and they'll tilt the drive shaft a little bit, and they'll cut the blades off. There's only about 4 inches of it showing. Weld a chain onto every blade of equal length so it balances. And what that does is it basically, you were talking about disking to make a fire break, then you have all the erosion. You have the weeds that come up. What this does is it simply beats away all the residue, and they cut a slot in the side so it'll side discharge just like a lawnmower. That way you can create bare ground in a pasture without soil disturbance. All you're doing is taking away the residue. So that's been a really nice tool. And if you do that, what some people will do, especially if there's imminent fire danger, they'll make 2 passes and side discharge towards each other and then burn the area in between on a day when there's very little wind, good humidity, and it's safe to burn. They'll have a strip burned around it. And so that way you can protect the majority of your acreage from a fire spreading from one of your neighbors. And a lot of times they'll burn the ditch out as well, so things aren't jumping through the ditches. One way a fire will move across roads a lot of times, you think, well, how's a fire going to jump that road? One way a lot of fires jump road is through culverts. You get a little fire, you'll have leaves and dead grass inside those culverts. You get a fire in there, it makes a tunnel. And if you've never observed this phenomenon, take like a little toilet paper roll holder and set it over a campfire. And it'll create a vacuum and shoot flames up the top of that toilet paper. So burning out around your culverts as a preventive measure can kind of help things from changing. Another trick is have a sprayer full of molasses and go around, and when you still have cattle on the pasture, spray around the edges with molasses after dormancy and have cattle just create your fire break for you. I know people will do that along their fence lines. So in the Flint Hills, where they burn routinely, they'll spray molasses right along the fence line so that the cattle just eat the grass down. You don't have the fuel load around your fences. That way their fences get spared the burn. As far as interseeding, there are some things that I think you can interseed to boost range productivity. Obviously, the last thing you want to seed is something that's going to become a weed in the future. So you want to be a little careful about things that can spread and take over native range in time. One of those things that has some weedy potential that is also very successful, if you want to manage it, is yellow blossom sweet clover. Yellow blossom sweet clover has been used in rangeland seedings all over the West. It's very, very successful. It will reseed itself, and it can take over. Luckily, the way you manage yellow blossom sweet clover is to graze it heavy. Use it. But it's a good nitrogen fixer. It's successful in rangeland settings. It's a very good species for interseeding in the shortgrass range. And that works well broadcast. I know a lot of pastures just can't get a drill out there. Yellow blossom sweet clover might be a species you want to consider. There's a number of sweet clovers. There's Heerman sweet clover, which is an annual. There's white blossom, and there's yellow blossom. They all bloom at different times and produce seed at different times. So there's a little bit of diversity there within that same family. If you're going to drill something, if you just want to get some temporary cover out there to stop the ground from moving, the bigger the seed, the better, because it's going to establish that much quicker. You've got good seedling data. And getting something, of course, the bigger the seed means the deeper you got to get it in the ground. That's if you're able to drill. Things like peas, lentils, oats, brown midrib corn. These are not things that I typically expect to seed in a rangeland. These are temporary measures to stop the soil from moving. Some other things to broadcast here. Some of your brassicas have pretty good seedling vigor, growing some sand. A lot of your brassicas, turnips, radishes, if you plant them in the spring, all they want to do is flower. So I'd look at rapeseed. It's really cheap, easy to establish, does well in sand. Collards is another one. So those are a couple species I'd look at. Jake brought up something else, and that is supplemental grazing on cropland. You guys have, I was at a meeting one time, had a rancher from eastern Colorado, and he was giving a talk in eastern Kansas. And there's this one older gentleman that was sitting in the audience. He just stood up and said, "You have it so easy." And I'm sure this rancher from eastern Colorado had never been told before by a guy from eastern Kansas, where it rains 40 inches, and I can raise 200 bushel corn just by throwing the bag out the window. How easy it is to ranch in eastern Colorado. The guy says, "Excuse me, you're going to have to explain yourself. You know, I get 12 inches of rain in a good year. You get 40 in a bad year. How come you think I have it easy?" He said, "Because you got grass that's good every month of the year. You can even raise it, grow it one year and graze it the next, and it's still good." He said, "If we don't graze it, within 2 weeks of it growing, it just turns to green colored straw here. Has no nutrient development." That is a very real advantage you guys have on your native grasses here. Jake was talking about deferring. In eastern Kansas, where I grew up, if you defer grazing on those tall grasses, they do turn to green straw. Cows will lose weight if you don't graze grass for the first 3 months of the season. They'll lose weight on that grass. You guys can defer grazing on that grass, let it gain vigor, let it fill in, produce cover, and use it later. You can even use it after it goes dormant, and it's still good. The trick is, if you're going to do that, you got to find something else to eat. That's where all different kinds of grazing mixtures, sedan grass, millets, all the things you listed, cowpeas, sunlit, whole smorgasbord things. Grazing wheat apple, grazing oat, peas, triticale, cover crop mixtures. There's all different kinds of things you can do on a cropland that can allow you to rest that native range and graze that native range after dormancy, after it's recovered vigor, instead of feeding hay. I could go on for hours and hours about how much hay feeding actually costs you to do. This might be an opportunity to incorporate some good long-term practices into your program. John?
Yeah, I think, just if you have some annual cropland that burned and you're not real excited about putting corn or something back in that, if you have cattle yourself, or a neighbor that lost pasture that needs a place for those cows to go, if you could just put in a cheap cover crop or forage mix to feed some of the neighbors' cows or your cows and kind of get that soil covered back, and then use some of this temporary fencing so that you can control the time that those cattle are on that ground so that they don't turn it back into bare soil and you're back to where you started. But there's a lot of different options of planting cool seasons right now in the next couple of weeks, or you can even wait and till the May period and start planting some warmer seasons if you want to try and stockpile something for late summer or fall grazing period. But I mean, if we're thinking about cover crops or interested in trying them, I mean, there's definitely some people out there that lost a lot of their pasture and would need some of that feed value to maybe hold on to some of the cow herd or help feed some of your own.
We also have some, one of the things that my bosses, the Burns brothers, they absolutely love a deal. And so they have feelers out constantly. Where can we get somebody's screw up that we can use as a cover crop? And so we have access to some really cheap cover crop options. Off-spec stuff that got accidentally blended, broken bags that weren't legal for sale for some other reason. We have a lot of those things. We're working to make those available to you guys, people that are affected by the fires, not just here, but also in western Oklahoma, southwest Kansas, north panhandle of Texas. Got our little fire relief program, I guess, of some cut rate seed. It's not, no guarantees on what kind of quality it is. It's seed, and it'll cover the ground. And vast majority of it, a cow will eat just fine. So, Michael, you want to chip anything into anything there?
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we do have our blue light specials, I guess, on some seed. If you're just wanting to get some ground covered, we can do it.
John, do you want to just address water on cropland and how you handle that?
As far as there's no infrastructure for the water, yeah, that's the hard part of doing some of the covers and some of the stuff on cropland is always water. Fence you can put up pretty easily, but hauling water or finding a place that allows you, a neighbor or someone to allow you to pipeline water over to the field. But on the stuff I've been grazing on cropland, everything's hauled. You know, most of us have a tanker trailer for keeping the sprayer running, so just a matter of making sure your cone bottoms are cleaned out.
One thing about that, don't haul water to animals that are bred, and anything that's ever had fertilizer in it, you do have the chance to abort calves with nitrate levels.
Kill fertilizer within the.
Yeah, just be sure to use something that's not
water and fertilizer.
Yeah.
One of the cheapest ways to move water across lengths is with high density polyethylene pipe. You can get rolls of it, 3/4 inch rolls, about 33 cents a foot. You can run it along the top of the ground. It's pretty, I won't say completely unbreakable, but it's awful tough. Cattle can walk right on it. You lay it on top of the ground. You don't need to trench it in. When you're done with it, you can roll it back up and move it someplace else. And I know, Michael, you've got some experience with it. You want to chip in here?
We've done it where, we ran it over a mile on top of the ground, and it wasn't even a pressurized system. We just used gravity just downhill enough that we could run it over a mile just through that. But like you said, the cattle can step on it. I mean, it's pretty tough, and it's been a good way of getting different water points. If you need to get water somewhere where you do have a well across the road or somewhere down the way that you need to get water to, it's a good way of getting there if you don't have the availability to truck it. So
yeah, and you can get little pop-up valves that you can just snap and have a little temporary movable water tank. Some people will put it on a trailer. You just have a little plug and you stick in those pop-up valves at regular intervals. It's a pretty slick system. And once you figure out, water is probably the most difficult part of this rotational grazing thing. Once you figure that out, it is unbelievable how much productivity you can gain in your grazing. One of the most important things, and we talked about the importance of establishing cover, when you start grazing cropland, the temptation is, boy, there's a lot of feed left out there. I think I'll let them stay out there a little longer. And you end up with bare ground. And you've undone most of the good that you've done. I was at a presentation this winter, and I have a tendency to do the same thing, because I'm a cattleman and I always tend to graze more than what I should. I have a percentage of my cover crops than what I should. But a guy separated out top half from bottom half, his cover crop, mixture, species by species. Top half of the plant, bottom half of the plant, and sent in a nutrient analysis of all of them. And I just calculated out the average daily gain. If you took the average of the tops, the average of the bottoms, my calculated average daily gain of the tops was 3 pounds a gain a day, almost feedlot gains. The average daily gain of the bottom half of the plant was about 1/10 of a pound per day. Barely maintenance feed. There is no benefit to forcing your animals to graze stems. Use that to feed the soil. Make more money. Hear me again. You make more money leaving stems in the field than you do grazing. You don't leave it out there because you're a noble steward of the land. You do it because you're greedy. You make more money leaving it. Okay? Everybody got that? You make more money by leaving it out there. And you're a noble steward. Anything else? Well, you can contact John for any of our blue light specials on seed or cheap stuff for establishing some cover. We've got some pretty good deals. Anything else?
Okay, we'd encourage you guys to stick around and talk amongst each other or talk with some of the speakers today. But we'd like to take this time to thank our sponsors again. That's Ray State Bank, Premier Farm Credit, of course, Green Cover Seeds, Eastern Colorado Seeds, CHS, Livewire Fencing and Supply, Rob Seco, and Nordy's Restaurant in Greeley for the food. So I thank you very much for coming out. We encourage you to stick around and talk with people and get the questions answered you need to after we're done here. But thank you very much for coming out tonight.